Yeah, it's not a dying dream at all. I mean, just listen to how many of them are in the VC right now, sitting silently, just waiting to chime in so they can cheerlead for the one that actually has any conviction to speak out for their club. Well, we got Simple Jack back again. Welcome back, Jack.
Hello.
Did you develop any conviction in the Globe faith?
Conviction? Probably not.
The past few times you didn't seem to be too bothered either way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Seemed like you couldn't be arsed, as the British say.
Why do you meet a lot of people that are very passionate about the globe?
Of course. Almost everybody is.
Hmm.
Yeah, there aren't many people who won't flip out if you say, "Hey, buddy, the Earth's flat." As far as I can tell. Maybe it's just because I set up a VC with the headline "Flat Earth," and so maybe the people that join are just the ones that are immediately triggered by that. So maybe it's not really an accurate survey of the general public, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
I mean,
think?
I wouldn't, I wouldn't make too many judgments based on what you see on Discord.
Yeah, probably not. Probably plenty of people who just wouldn't give a shit, and plenty of people who would, but it's probably not the same numbers out there as it is in here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep, it's kind of a rage bait title, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. You guys are allowed to believe whatever you want to believe.
Yeah, but
If
the
you
words
think,
flat Earth immediately trigger.
Hmm.
Don't you think?
I mean, maybe, probably certain people. Yeah, I could imagine it would trigger them. Like if they were, I don't know,
Well, I
very
mean, it's the most
uh,
popular VC in the server, and I mean, if we had just set it up to say, let's say, 24/7 Globe Earth, do you think anybody would care?
no, of course not. No.
No, wouldn't get anything. The controversy begins when you say flat, and then suddenly they go, "What? No, that's stupid. That can't be." And that's how you become number one.
Hmm.
Gonna do a quick mic check real fast.
We hear you. You're coming through. We're live.
All right, and we're live.
We are live. It's true. It's a fact.
So confirm chat. We're live. Awesome. Glad to be here, guys.
Just trying to get Simple Jack interested in defending his faith in the Globe.
Yeah, you do have to have some faith, eh, Jack?
Faith. What do you mean by that?
I mean, you have facts.
Facts about what?
The globe, dude. What else?
Facts about it. I mean, I don't know. I guess.
All right, hit us with the facts.
What do you want to know?
Whatever facts you got.
I don't know. Maybe be more specific. I'll be able to answer. Give you a more specific answer.
It's hard to motivate this guy. It really is.
That's crazy. Well, either you just believe in it or you know things about it. So I can't pull out of you what you know. It's you. But maybe it's just a belief though, and that's totally fine. If it's like a faith-based belief, no one's gonna be upset about you. Upset with you about that.
It's just a big subject. I mean, if you have a more specific question, I could try to see what I know about it.
We need to ask. We need to find out what he knows. All right. I mean, what about like size? You know how big it is, or it's all right if you don't.
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure I could look it up. I don't know.
Well,
I think they said
you
what 35,000 miles or something like that.
Well, if you're looking up, it'd be looking up for you. But that's all right. Anything else? Let's see. I mean, do you know what gravity is?
Do I know what gravity is? Like, what do you mean? Like, do I know what
do I mean?
Phenomenon of gravity is?
I mean, it's either you know what gravity is or you don't, man. I mean, I don't feel like we're speaking Chinese in here, unless you want me to.
I mean,
I could fake it. You wouldn't tell the difference.
I guess it just depends on.
It depends.
Because it just depends on what you're asking. That's why I'm just asking you to be more specific.
What is gravity?
It's like a phenomenon we observe in nature, I guess.
Okay, what's the observable phenomenon?
I mean, I guess it depends on like what scale you're talking about. If we're talking about the most accepted concept right now would be like some kind of warping of space time.
Okay, where do you observe that?
What do you mean observe? Do I see it happening?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, you don't see gravity; you see its effects. So,
Didn't you say observable phenomenon?
no, the phenomenon that's observable is its effects. You can't like see gravity. You can't like. There's no gravity to point out anywhere.
Okay, what's the effect?
It would be like what we observe about things being pulled towards the center of the Earth,
All right, where do you see that?
like everywhere on Earth.
Really? Okay, well, I'm looking around right now. I mean, what do you see as being pulled down to the center of Earth? I don't actually see anything doing that.
What do you mean?
What do you see?
You don't see anything like ever fall down?
Well, I don't see things falling down right now. Do you?
I mean, I see things staying down, so that would be
Staying
an
down.
effect of gravity. Yeah, like if I put something down on my desk, it stays there. It doesn't
What
start
else would
falling
happen?
away.
Well, okay. Let's think about that for a second. Why would that happen?
Why would what happen?
The thing you just said, which is it's not floating away. Why would that even happen in the first place? Why would you assume that, like, well, it's not floating, therefore something else is happening? Why would anything float like that in the first place? Why would you assume that?
Why would I assume that things would float away? I wouldn't assume that things would float away.
I'm sorry, one more time.
I wouldn't assume that things would just float away. Why would I
Okay,
assume
then
that?
I don't know why you would assume that, but you said like why don't it's not floating, therefore, well, why would it?
Therefore, there's a reason that it's being pulled down to the ground.
I don't think that connects.
Okay, so I mean, if you hold something in your hand and you let go of it, what happens to it?
But where was it before you picked it up?
It was in your hand, but let's just say you're holding a
No.
pencil in your hand right now, and you let go of it. What happens to it?
Well, it didn't spawn in your hand. So where was it before you picked it up?
Well, are you going to answer my question? Like,
Of
if you
course, I
hold a
will. I
pencil,
will.
okay, yeah. So if you're holding a pencil in your hand and you
But
let
we
go of
can't.
it, like, what
Yeah.
happens to it?
I hear what you're asking, but I'm just saying we got to look at the full context, at the timeline. We can't have this hyper focused timeline where we only pay attention to the part where the pencil's in your hand and then the part where when you let go. It didn't spawn in your hand. You don't have pencils in your hand at birth. Pencils are usually at rest somewhere else. Then you remove it from rest, you pick it up, and then you dropped it. So it's funny to me when people are like, "But why did it fall?" It's like, well, you picked it up.
Huh? What does it mean to be at rest? What does that mean?
It's on the ground, or like on a it's on the ground.
Okay, but why? Why is it on the ground?
What else would happen? I'm trying to remove this idea that you think things shouldn't be on the ground or they should be floating away. That's kind of like a cartoonish idea
I
to
didn't
assume.
say that things should be floating
You are
away.
saying that. I don't know if you realize it, but you are saying that. You are saying that.
No, I'm saying that's
Yes.
what I observe. Like when I interact in the world and when I look around, that's like what I see happening. It's not something that I expect. It's something that I directly observe. If you directly observe something else, you think there's a different thing that happens when you hold something in your hand and let go of it. I'd love to hear what that is. But I mean, you keep trying to put me onto this belief that I've only, clarified over and over again with you that that's not what I believe or what I think. You just keep trying to say that. Like, I don't think things should just float in the air. I've never said that. I'm just saying when I observe the natural world directly, if you hold something in your hand and you let go of it, it's going to fall. It's going to fall
What
down.
about
Things seem to be getting pulled down to the ground or being at least staying on the ground. There is something happening that causes things to stay on the ground. If you don't agree with that, then I'd love to hear what you think.
I don't agree with the part where you're saying staying as if something else would happen. That's why I'm invoking like you implying that things should be or would be floating as a result of this. If it wasn't staying, then it would
No,
float.
I'm not saying that things would be floating. I mean, it's
You don't
actually the
realize it, but you are
opposite.
saying that.
Stuff is on the ground. It's not floating around. Therefore, what? Who
Yeah,
cares?
so what I'm saying is that if there
Who
was
cares
no
about that?
ground blocking something, it would keep getting pulled downward. If there was no ground there, so that's the opposite of floating around. There's something that's pulling these objects in a downward fashion, that's the opposite of saying it's floating around. So maybe you're misunderstanding.
Okay, so let me ask him this. Let me ask him this here too, because I don't have too much time. I got to go in a few minutes. But and feel free to jump into. But like, okay, let's say this pulling wasn't happening. Then what would happen?
I don't know. We live in a world where we don't experience that. I would have
He
to
doesn't
see.
realize what he's saying. He doesn't realize what he's saying, chat. So if it wasn't being pulled down, would it float up?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
We don't know that. Can you find me like a place without gravity?
Yeah. The Earth.
Okay, where?
The Earth.
The Earth doesn't have gravity.
Yeah.
Okay, so then why are you like why do you feel like you're being stuck to the ground, or why do
I
things
don't
fall
actually
down?
feel that. I don't feel that.
Okay,
I
so
don't feel like I'm being tugged down to the ground.
you've never fallen down.
Well, I don't know. When I jump, I'm not Superman, and I don't continue going up. It's called flying. So
Right?
why
Have
would
you ever
anything else
fallen down
happen?
though? Have you ever
From
fallen
where?
down
From where?
from anywhere? Anywhere?
Like did I trip and fall or something, or
Have you
like
ever
jump
fallen
fell
down?
down from
Yes,
like a roof?
this is like a simple direct question. I mean, I don't know
I
why
get what
you're
you're
being
saying, but you
obtuse.
don't spawn.
Have you
I'm being
ever fallen
obtuse.
down? Yes or no? Like it's a simple question. You don't have to avoid
Yes,
it. You can just say yes, or maybe you're like the most like graceful person on earth. You've never fallen, even as a
I
baby.
am pretty graceful, to be honest. I am pretty graceful. But in terms of like,
Okay.
have I gone up to something and then jumped off of it? Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you've
And then I
fallen
returned.
down. Okay. Why is it that you
But
fell?
well, I don't have the ability to fly. So when I jump
Okay,
off
but
of
what is the
something,
ability to fly?
well, when you're saying like, well, since you're not going up, you're being pulled down. I don't agree with that
What is
sentiment.
the ability to fly? What does it mean to fly?
Okay, so you're saying, well, when I jump, how come I come back down? So, well, you don't have the ability to float or fly. At least
Okay,
in
so
Dragon
what
Ball
is
Z and
flight?
Goku.
What is flight? Like, what does it mean to fly? Can you answer that? It's like simple. These are like direct questions. You keep avoiding them. Like simple stuff. Like, what does it mean to fly? What is that? What
Well,
are
if you
you
were to
doing when
jump,
you're flying?
if you were to jump and then keep going up, that's called flying.
Jump
That's
and
like some
keep going
Superman
up.
Goku type shit. That's like what Goku can do. Superman, they jump and they keep going up.
I
That's
mean,
called
you don't have
flying.
to. You obviously don't have to like appeal to cartoons. Like flight is some like unimaginable concept. You know, like birds fly and like planes and stuff.
Oh, well,
You keep
you're not
talking
asking
about
me.
it like it's like some outlandish
Or,
like thing.
okay, you're asking me when I jump, why do I come back down?
And you're talking about Goku and Superman instead of talking
Oh
about
yeah,
like real world examples.
because if you were to jump and keep going up, that's called flying.
Yeah, and we have lots of things in this world that can fly, right? So I
Human,
don't
yeah,
know why
not
you keep
humans. Humans
talking
don't do
about
that.
it like it's. You keep talking about it
No.
like it's some like made up
You,
thing, like a
I'm
cartoon
not saying
like
I'm not
ability.
saying that. You know what? Human flying is made up. Yeah.
You keep only appealing to the most outlandish examples. You're saying
Human
flying? That's something
human
Superman
beings
does.
flying
Like
is
what?
only for Superman and Goku. Yes, yes. That
Yeah, it's
human
also
beings
for
cannot
birds
fly.
and
But
insects and
we're
all
not
sorts
asking
of
about birds and insects,
technology.
are you? You're asking me if I'm
I'm not
graceful and
asking
if I've
about
ever
Goku or
fallen.
Superman, am I? I'm not asking about
Oh my
them, but you
god.
keep talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
them.
Yeah, I know, because human beings can't fly. You're not asking about birds and stuff. Of course birds can fly.
What? So why would you bring up cartoon characters if you only
Because
wanted to talk about
I
human
don't know if you
beings?
realize it. I don't know if you realize it, dude. You're
I know
asking,
this is
okay,
like your shtick to say like I don't know if you know what you're doing to people when you don't even know what you're talking about. But it's not like a good look.
uh, it's a pretty good look.
Who are you like posturing for? Are you posturing for somebody? Because it sounds like you
No,
are.
this is my
Okay, well then you
own.
should
This is
just
my
be able
shit,
to
bro.
engage in like a good faith conversation.
Well,
Like
he actually was, and he was answering your question, dude, but you weren't listening, yeah, because you asked him if he had ever fallen down. And he said, well, yes, he has, because he
no, he
doesn't
didn't.
have
He
the ability.
floundered for like 10 minutes
He said
trying to
that he
avoid
doesn't.
answering.
No, no, he actually did say it, and he said that he doesn't have the
Yeah,
ability to
after
fly
like
like
10 minutes of
Superman.
avoiding it.
Well, it doesn't matter. He still answered the question, dude. And he's
It
making
does
a
matter. It
statement that, yes,
absolutely does matter. And I don't
100%
know why you feel like you
human,
need to defend him. Are you
human,
like his keeper
human
or something?
beings human beings are going to go down because they can't fly like Superman or Goku. This is
Okay,
what
so
Okay.
this
what
is
is it?
brought in.
So what is flight? So then
Now
how
you
does
want to take
flight
it to
work?
birds and now you want to take it to birds and planes and change the subject and try and make out that he's somehow speaking garbage here. Yeah, it was in regards to people falling down. Yes, they do. We don't fly.
Okay, so why do people fall down?
Reset. Just respawn.
So yeah, I'm just waiting for like a direct answer. Oh,
And you're
why do
sure you're
people
talking
fall
about
down?
people or are we talking about birds? Just to make sure we're
It
locked
can be
in.
anything. Birds fall down too. They have to exert effort to be able to fly.
Mhm.
Okay, so
What
what
about
are
like
they acting
you said?
against when they're exerting that effort? Because
Mm,
you're saying that they're at rest when they're on the ground. That
mhm.
there's nothing acting on them. There's nothing keeping them on the ground. So flight should be pretty much effortless, right? Like I mean, I'm just
No,
trying to
no. There you
understand
go with the
what you're getting
floating
at.
thing. You're going again with this like floating idea. Like if there wasn't something pulling you down, then like going
Okay,
up
so
would be
then
really
what keeps
easy.
things
I
on
don't
the
agree with
ground?
that.
I don't
It's not
understand
being
what keeps things on
kept.
the ground.
It's not being kept on the ground. When you
So then
say
what's
that, but you don't
happening?
realize. Hold on, just relax for a second. What you don't realize you're saying is when you say like, "Oh, why isn't it being kept down?" As if something's trying to happen, and then this other thing is preventing it from happening. There's no.
It's what you see when you do things. Like, for example, if I have a piece of paper and there's wind acting on it, I don't want that paper to move. I'll put something on top of it, and the paper will stay.
Right.
So, like, I'm trying to understand why do things have weight? Why do things have different weight? Why do they have, like, how does any of that work? Like, what are you saying here?
Even in your example, you're highlighting how, like, one thing is like trying to happen is paper going up or floating or, like, being blown around, and then, like, your other force or whatever is holding that back. I think that's actually the problem that I would like to highlight for you is that you don't need either of those ideas. The first idea is that, well, I should be floating or like, effortless when I jump or whatever, but something else is happening to prevent me from this, taking place. And I don't think either of those ideas are necessary. The only time you've ever seen any type of floating.
Explain to me, like, how it works.
Let me finish. The only time you've ever seen this, like, floating thing is on, like, YouTube. You've never actually seen things floating around like that, or have you?
What are you talking about with this floating thing?
Okay, well, remember, like, like astronauts on the ISS, they have a bunch of stuff floating around and stuff, right? Because there's, like, no gravity there, Otherwise, if gravity was there, it would pull all the toothpaste and all the water and all the astronauts down onto the floor of the whatever. Yes, or you know what I'm talking about?
Direction. Yeah, I mean, depending on.
Right. So what I'm saying is that's the idea you have in your head is that, like, well, if the gravity wasn't there, then we would, like, float around and stuff. I'm saying that there's no reason to think that you or anything in this reality would float around. You've only seen that on YouTube and, like, cartoons and I don't think that's, like, a good baseline for reality that, well, we should be floating, but something's stopping us from that.
Okay, so
I think those are two unnecessary ideas.
To offer, like, what is your alternative? Like, how does the world function? Because kind of what it sounds like what you're saying is kind of like in opposition to everything that we observe. So what are you proposing?
Not necessarily.
Why? So
nope,
how does reality work?
Here, I'll finish quickly and I'll pass it to the team.
Well, I'm waiting. I wanted to hear your answer because you're kind of refuting something, but you're not offering, like, any understanding and, like, what we observe. Like, you're just kind of telling me, like, hey, actually it works like this, and then you're not elaborating at all.
Yeah, I think things are at rest until you remove them from this rest period. Basically,
things are at rest. What does that mean to be at rest? Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, your idea is that they're being, like, pulled or yanked down, and if the base was removed, they would continue going down. I disagree with this.
So, like, have you ever been, like, up on a high building and maybe, like, there's been something on a ledge, or maybe you have a cat and, like, there's like, something on a table and the cat will push it off and then it'll fall down once there's no.
But remember, they didn't spawn there. That's what you're forgetting. They removed themselves from that.
There, this is like a video game.
Let me finish. I'll explain.
What do you mean spawn?
I know. They didn't start up on the platform, right? They removed themselves from the rest. They went up to some other area, then they jumped or whatever. So then they returned back to rest on the ground, right? Things don't just spawn up. The pencil wasn't in your hand to start. You picked it up from at rest, and now it's back down on the ground where you originally found it. So I think things are at rest on the ground until you remove them.
Something up on top of a mountain, and that's where it was spawned in your. Like,
okay. Then what? So it's at rest. It's at rest on the ground.
So it's at rest. You're arguing that it's at rest in its natural spawning position. So let's say the boulder spawned on top of the mountain, and let's say some ground gave way underneath that boulder. What happens? It's already at rest on your definition. So why would the boulder keep falling down?
Okay. Sorry about that. One more time. So you have a boulder on top of a mountain, and then what? What?
And then, like, the ground underneath it gives way, and it does what?
It goes down.
Okay, but it's going away from its position at rest. It's going away from its spawn point. Why?
Well, the ground is broke. Is what you said.
Yeah, but why would it go down? It's already at its spawn point, is what I'm saying. Like, you're saying that there's, like, a position where it's at rest, and it's like. So I'm just wondering, like, based on your own definition, why would it continue to fall down?
Else would happen?
Would it go up? At rest.
Yeah. What else would happen? Would it go up?
No, I'm asking you for an explanation on why it goes down. I'm not asking you if it goes up. I'm asking you for an explanation on why it goes down.
So well, what are the alternatives?
You keep trying to, like, avoid.
It's going to return to rest. It's going to return to rest. Also, by the way,
to return to rest. You said it's all about its spawning point. You said it's about context and its spawning point. Why is the ground at rest?
Why is the ground at rest? I don't even understand that question, to be honest.
Okay, you're saying for something to be at rest, it's on the ground. You just said that. That was your claim. And I'm saying, okay, why is that? And you're saying that doesn't even make sense. So
you said, why is the ground at rest?
Yeah, why is being on the ground considered at rest? Like, why?
Well, floating is not, like, a natural spawn point.
Things I'm talking about floating, bro. Nobody's talking about floating.
Yes, you are.
Being on the ground is at rest because the upward force from the ground equals the downward force of gravity. Right? At rest just means that the forces equal each other out.
No.
So
I'm waiting for you to explain. Like, why is it? Why
they don't realize
it is at rest on the ground? Why?
what else would be happening? That's what your friend just
That's
chimed
not
in.
an
He's like, well, it
answer.
would
That's
be
not an
floating. So
answer. That
something's
is not an
canceling that
answer.
out.
To say
Oh,
what
look,
else
let
would
me
be
just
happening is not an answer.
well, you in your head, you have an alternative that something is canceling out this idea that it would be floating, right? Like your friend just said that
No,
here. Like, well,
you
there's a
keep
force
talking.
that's being canceled
What
out.
friend? What are you talking about? It's just me and
Whoever
you
just
talking
chimed in,
in
did
here,
you not
buddy.
hear him?
Stop trying to avoid this. Like, you literally brought
No
up
one's
this
avoiding
conversation,
anything.
and now you're trying to like run away from like these basic
I'm not
questions.
running. I'm not
It
running.
really seems like you are. You keep changing the subject to floating. You keep
How am I
talking about
changing?
other people. Oh, your friend said this. Like, what are you talking about, bro? I don't
Well,
even know
did
who
you
that
not hear
guy
what he
is.
just said? Did you not
I
hear what he
did
said?
not, because I'm talking to you. I'm not interested
I
in
heard
what
what
he
he
has to
said.
say. I'm trying to get an answer from you. If you want to talk to him about something else, you can, but you just have to admit that
So
like you kind of like
I don't.
talked yourself into a corner here.
Not really. It's not really at all. But you don't realize that you and him are saying the same thing, and I'm trying to remove those bad ideas that you have. That's like there's two things happening,
Okay, but
and
you
they're
need to.
canceling each other out.
I'm not trying to have any ideas removed by you until you can explain what
That
your idea is. There is no
I
reason for
just
me to
told
trust
you.
you as an authority that you can
You don't
come
have to
here and
trust me.
tell me, oh, your ideas are good or bad when you can't even like explain your own concept. You can't even explain your own claim.
You're telling me that you're confused what at rest means, bro. I mean,
No,
I
I'm
don't know how
confused
much
by
more to help
your
you.
definition of at rest because you have very personal definitions to all these terms. All
Not
these things
really.
you have very personal definitions because somebody says
Really,
something
at
you're
rest
like
is my personal
I asked you
opinion.
earlier. I asked you earlier like what happens if you had a pencil in your hand and you let go of it and you said, "Well, the pencil doesn't spawn in your hand." Like who thinks like
Correct.
that? What are you talking about?
Well,
That's a
you
very
do. You
simple
do. You
example.
do.
You're a very like unique personality, so
No,
I wanted
you.
to make sure
This
you
is
understood the
something.
terms you were using.
All right, I'll let you finish. But this is something that is not new, bro. We've had this conversation many times. I've even dubbed it a horse blinder earther,
I've never even
where you
spoken
have
to you,
this.
dude, so I don't know what you're
I'll
talking
finish.
about.
Yeah, I've had this
I've
conversation
never
with
even
many people
spoken to you.
before.
We've never had these conversations before.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, I've had this conversation with other people before who say the
I
exact
don't
same
care who
things
you
as
have
you. All
conversations with. If you want to have
right, well,
conversations with your mother, you can. It has nothing to do
I'd
with
like
me.
to finish what I'm saying before you
Yeah,
interrupt.
but you don't. Your point. Don't be bringing up pointless stuff. Like we're keeping it on topic, and you want to
I'm
bring up. I've
addressing
had this
exactly the thing you
conversation
just
with
said.
all
If you'd
sorts of
let me.
people. You should just keep it on topic. Like unless you're afraid of being able to
I'm
answer
not
like
changing the.
for your own claims.
All right, just get
I
it
don't
all out, dude. Because
understand.
I'd like to finish my point. But go ahead and finish
Well,
yapping.
make your point about what we're talking about. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself because I don't want to learn about you. I want to learn about your claim about how the world works. So I'm not interested in
Okay.
hearing your stories about all these conversations you've had on Discord. Like if that's what you want to talk about, just go ahead and keep it to yourself.
All right, you done?
I really don't give a fuck.
All right, well, then shut the fuck up for a second and I'll finish.
All right, go ahead. Let's see what you got to
What it's
say
called,
about your claim,
Chad,
hopefully.
all right, just mute up for a second, dude. Holy shit, dude. It's fucking yapping at this point. But yeah, I'm going to talk to the chat at this point. This is a hyper limited timeline earther, a force blinder earther, where they
Here we go,
only
yeah.
focus on. There you
This
go.
is what happens when you get backed into a corner. You got to talk to the
Just mute him
chat
for
to
a
feel
second, Jack.
better.
He's literally yapping at this point, Jack.
Got to talk to
I'm
the
just gonna,
chat to feel better.
we're just going to mute him for a second, chat. I don't know where this is going. I'll finish up here and pass it back to the panel. But this is a hyper limited timeline earther, a force blind earther, where they only look at limited context. Well, pencil in hand, then what? Well, you have to look at the full context. It didn't spawn in your hand, right? It started at rest on the ground or wherever on the table. And you removed it from its rest period, then you dropped it. And these guys are going to come in here and act confused why it fell down. Yeah, no, I really have to go, though. I do have to go, chat. I've got like 2 minutes and I got to roll. I'll be back on in a little bit, though. I'm going to unmute chat.
So what you're explaining, though, CB, is that objects are seeking equilibrium, and when you pick something up, you're adding energy to it. When you let it go, it's returning to its stable state or equilibrium.
Yeah, what he doesn't realize is that the guy that jumped in, he said, well, there's two things happening and they're canceling each other out. This Jack person doesn't realize that he's saying the same thing. Well, you're being pulled down, and if you weren't, like, you'd go up. So he gave the example of the paper, right, and something on the paper preventing the wind from taking it away. That's perfect, right? Highlighting how he's saying that you would go up, but something is pulling you down. These two things are happening, and they're canceling each other out. I'm here to remove both of those shit ideas. They're both horrible, trash ideas. Number one, you've only seen this going up process in a fucking YouTube video of astronauts and floating toothpaste and shit like that. Well, something's got to be preventing us from that happening. Or you don't need either of those ideas. It's not normal, or in reality, human beings, toothpaste, and water doesn't just float around. So you don't need this other idea that something's blocking that from happening. And he's like, well, you have your own personal opinion on what rest means. Really? I just made up what rest means, chat. It's incredible. Well, let's let him respond here, but I do really need to roll out. I've got to finish some work, and I'll be back on in hopefully honestly, maybe 15 minutes. It won't be long. I'll jump back on. Let him respond, honestly. Let him respond. Let him respond. Jack, you're good to go, buddy.
Huh? I'm good to go. About what? Did you ask me a question?
Did you want to respond? Because I got to roll. So I'm going to let you
respond to what? You literally just muted me and went to your chat for moral support and then just started talking to yourself.
No one chimed in, really. No one really
like,
chimed in.
Hey, chat. This guy is this, and this is him.
Okay.
Is like, okay.
So
like,
you're supposed to be starting now. You don't have anything to say. I just addressed all your points.
I already said
and you have
everything I
nothing
had to say. You didn't even defend your claim. I'm waiting for you to defend your claim instead of appealing to chat. Can you defend your claim? Why is something at rest when it's on the ground?
What else would happen? Dude?
I'm asking you to explain why. Stop saying what else would happen. That's not a defense.
There's no reason to think anything else would happen. Like your idea that things would go up.
That's
like
not
your
about. See, you're so caught up. You're the one that's confused. You're so caught up in thinking that something else is going to happen. I'm asking you why what happens.
Just for the audience, I want them to realize that it's you who thinks something else would happen, not me. Not me. Don't pin me into your shitty ideas that things should be going up or floating. I know you don't like that, but that's your idea.
Here and like avoiding a very direct question.
I'm asking why everything very specifically. I do have to go. I have to go.
It's like, that's simple. It's super simple. You should be able to offer an explanation as to why something happens. If you observe something happen, you should be able to offer some kind of explanation as to what is going on. If you can only say, what else would happen, that means you really don't have any clue about the subject you're talking about.
So what is happening, you said?
Huh? What?
He's asking what else would happen because his understanding is that when you let something go, some objects, they're going to seek equilibrium, they're going to be at rest. What else would happen? Are you thinking that something's going to float away if we don't have what you're claiming to be gravity?
What else would happen? I don't know why you guys keep going to.
No, he's stating because he's stating he doesn't believe anything else can or would happen. You asking the question infers that you would believe that something else could happen, like something should float if we were being held down by gravity.
For example, we can put an object down. For example, like I can have an object in my hand. I can put it onto a table and I can release my hand and it's not going to move. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay? Now, if I do it and there's no table or no ground directly underneath it, the object is going to fall to the ground. So I'm asking why. Why does that happen? Like to keep changing the question to something else is kind of weird.
No worries. At a very basic level, you're asking for something that you can't. Well, sorry, not at the basic level. You're asking for something that you can't provide yourself, yeah? Because no one really knows what the causation of what gravity is, yeah? So when you're talking about gravity, you're talking about the physical effect of some objects going down at an average rate, okay? Right. What the actual... Now, none of us deny that fact. This is something that we all see in reality every day. The question is, what is the causation, yeah?
Right. Exactly.
Now, there's a couple of things that we can look at and that we can actually test. So that could be the buoyancy and density relationship with the medium. That could be objects seeking equilibrium, where we have this pen that's sitting on the desk. It's at rest or at equilibrium. When we pick that object up, we add energy to it. And then when we let it go, it's seeking equilibrium. Now, other than that, which the Globe would agree with both these terms, or both these explanations, we wouldn't be able to take it any further than that, just like the Globe can't, yeah? Because the causation itself of gravity has not been scientifically proven by the Globe. It's all based on metaphysics, yeah? And we would only be giving the same type of answers. So there's no use in arguing then about ideas.
So cooked, he's speechless.